Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning. Happy New Year to everybody. It's so nice to see you all here. I'm Deanna, and we are going to start off this new year with an easy, gentle yin practice. I love to do yin. I always talk about yin as being one of my favorite ways to practice yoga. It's where we're going to hold our poses for several minutes at a time. We're not going to hold like warrior two for 5 minutes at a time. We're going to stay on the floor, and the postures are going to be ones that we're going to have several modifications, and you should be able to hopefully find an expression of each posture that works for your body today and that you can sustain for several minutes. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start laying down on our mat. So just find yourself laying. You feel free to have your coffee like I am nearby, and we will just find a comfortable spot here, laying flat on our back on our mat. We're going to take some time here to settle in, settle onto our mat, take our body away and our mind away and our breath away from the rest of the world. Just find some stillness in your body. Legs relaxed, arms relaxed. Take a moment to find your breath, to notice your breath as it moves in and out of your body at its regular pace, at your pace. And take some big, deep breaths and notice where the breath goes inside your body, even beyond your lungs. Where do you feel the movement of your breath as you breathe in and out? And continue to notice your body. How has it changed even in the past minute since you've been laying on the floor? And we'll do a scan of our body to find moments of further relaxation, starting with our toes. If you're engaging your toes, what can you do to relax them more? The top of your feet, your arches, your heels, your shins and your calves. Any tension there, relax, release it. Your knees, your kneecaps, your thighs, your hamstrings, your butt. Are you holding any tension in your butt? Can you release that? Your pelvis, your belly, your spine, your lower back, your middle back, your upper back, your chest. I like to hold my tension in my chest and my upper back. Doesn't necessarily serve me, but that's where my body tends to go. So what can I do right now to release some more? Your shoulders, your biceps, your triceps, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, your hands, the back of your hand, your palms, your fingers, your throat, the back of your head, your jaw, your cheeks, your mouth, your eyes, your temples, your forehead, the top of your head. Now that you've released everything, take a few more moments to just lay here. Focus your mind on your breath and watch it as it moves in and out of your body. As you breathe in, count 1. As you breathe out, count 2. As you breathe in, count 3. As you breathe out, count 4. Keep breathing and counting. And if anytime you find that your mind has drifted off your mat onto something else, bring your counting back to 1 and start counting again from there. This is just a gentle meditation. It's one you could practice in the morning before you get out of bed, in the evening before you go to sleep. It doesn't require an app or music or anything, just your ability to breathe and count. Interesting to notice how high you can count before having to start over. If this is a practice that you do decide to take on, a meditation practice, it would be interesting to notice whether the more you practice this meditation, the higher you can get in your counting before your mind drifts to something else. It's not a competition, but just something to observe whether a regular practice like this can increase your ability to stay focused on your breathing and on your counting. So now let's go ahead and add some movement to our practice. Send your arms past your mat. Make yourself as long as possible, your arms overhead, your legs as long as possible. And we're going to make a crescent moon shape with our bodies. So walk your heels and your hands over to the right. So now you've made a little crescent moon shape with your body, and we're going to stay here for several minutes. And you can just stay right here. There are a couple of ways you can express this posture. You can just stay here with your hands and feet next to each other, your feet next to each other and your hands next to each other. You can also take your left heel and cross your leg over your right leg. Take your left, and you can stay right there. You could also add another one where you could take your left hand and place it inside your right palm. You could do just your hands, just your feet, both your hands or feet, or neither one. And just find some way, some expression where you can stay here for several minutes. And sometimes your chest can sort of arch upwards. See if you can knit your ribs back together so you're not arching your back. We'll just stay here for several minutes. We'll go ahead and start to unbind your feet and your hands if you did that, and come back to center. Send those arms overhead. Maybe you want to bring them down, sort of a half windmill down next to your hips. Shake out those shoulders. And then send them back up overhead. Make your body as long as possible. And then slowly, don't knock over your coffee, walk your feet and your hands over to the left side of your body. Keep your feet and hands right here, or add those additional binds if you wanted to. Additional different expressions of the posture. And we'll stay here for another 2 or 3 minutes. And go ahead and unbind, untwist your body, bring it back to center. Half windmill those arms down so they're right beside your hips. Shake out those shoulders. And then bring your knees into your chest, toward your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins. Bring those knees closer to your chest. Lift your forehead up to try to touch your knees. And then bring your forehead back down. Rock your body from side to side. Now we're going to do a twist. I'm going to start on my left side just so that you can see my expression better. So go ahead and join me and send both knees over to the left. Drop them down onto the floor. I'm going to give you a couple of options with your arms. We're going to stay here for about 2 minutes. And you can send your arms out to each side, make like a T shape with your arms. You can also bend them at the elbows and have the backs of your hands sort of making like a goal post shape with your arms. They give you slightly different stretches, so it'll be interesting to see which one works better for you, which one you want to stretch today. And you can stay right here. Another option that I often take when I'm holding this posture for a few minutes is I like to place my left hand on the outside of my right thigh. So just kind of, I find that it grounds my legs a little bit, and it sort of better stabilizes my lower back. And then turn your head towards your right fingers. And you can always, if this doesn't work for your head, you can just look straight up toward the sky. But let's see if we can stay here for about 2 minutes. Go ahead and bring your gaze back towards the sky. Pull up those knees back into your chest. We can rock side to side. So in between these yin postures, it sometimes feels good to add a little movement, a little counter, give your body a little movement that it's asking for after holding a particular posture for a few minutes. When you're ready, join me back here with your knees pressed into your chest, and we'll send both knees over to the right side of the floor. Again, arms out in a T shape, in a goalpost shape, or some sort of combination of that, with your right hand on the outside of your left thigh. And we'll stay here for 2 minutes. We'll go ahead and come back to center. Let's go ahead and grab onto each of your shins, then rock yourself from side to side. Maybe make circles or half circles with your knees. And then we're going to roll over onto our side and come up to tabletop. We'll do some cat and cow postures here just to keep our body moving a little bit, add a little bit of movement here, just at your own pace. Take some cat and cow movements. Lift your pelvis, drop your belly, lift your gaze, round your pelvis, round your belly, drop your gaze. And then when you're ready, press your big toes to each other. We're going to walk ourselves into child's pose. So walk your hands back to drop your heel onto your butt onto your heels. And then if you need to make a little bit of space, pull in your belly, just a little bit of, create some space for your belly as you move forward into child's pose. Drop your head to the floor, keep your arms engaged. You can use your hands to push your butt closer to your heels, so push your hands away from you. Pushes your butt a little bit closer to the mat. You can stay here for 2 minutes. Keep your arms engaged or drop them beside you. Just drop your elbows. onto the floor. And if you drop your elbows onto the floor, just see what more can you drop, can you release. You stay here in this posture. Over the next several minutes, can you release even more? Can you feel your body sort of closer to the floor? And then from here, let's re-engage those arms, extend them out. And again, push your hands away on the mat so that your butt gets closer to your heels. And from here, we're gonna walk our hands over to the right off our mat. This gives us a stretch along our left side of our body. And we'll stay here for 1 minute. And come back to center. Push your hands away from you on the mat so that your butt gets closer to your heels, and then begin to walk over to the other side. And walk back to center and push yourself up to tabletop. We're going to thread the needle here. So send your right arm out to the side, up like an airplane arm, and then shoot it in between your left arm and your left knee. Drop that right shoulder onto the floor. Keep those hips. Your hips may have scooted to the left, so send them back over so that they are above your knees. And then push your left hand into the floor. Kind of adds a little twist to your body. We're going to stay here for 1 minute. You can also, another expression of this posture, you can send your left arm up towards the sky. You can also then bend your left elbow and wrap your arm back behind your body. We'll stay here for 1 minute. Lots of ways to express this posture. Go ahead and unwind your arm if you wound it up. Bring your left hand in front of your face and use it to push yourself up. Send that right arm back up towards the sky and back to tabletop. Let's take some cat and cow movements before we do the other side. And now we'll do the other side. Send that left arm up, out like airplane arm, and then thread that needle in between your knee and your hand. Drop your left shoulder to the ground. And use your right hand to twist yourself up. You can also push your shoulder further into the ground. It also helps to give you a twist. And then you can stay here, send your arm up overhead, or wrap it behind your body, your right arm, that is, and send those hips back over your knees if they scooted to the right. We'll stay here for 1 minute. Bring the arm back, and so your hand is in front of your face, and use it to push yourself up. Send that arm out. And come back to tabletop. We'll take some more cat and cow movements. And then find yourself still in cat and cow. We're going to walk our wrists out. See if we can get a little wrist stretch. So walk your hands out so that all 10 fingers are pointing towards the side of your mat. And this may be just enough for you. If you want, you can keep turning, twisting your wrist, pointing your fingers so that they are now maybe pointing towards your knees or something like that. Some expression of this posture that you could hold for 1 minute. We're actually going to rock real quick before we hold it still. So rock forward, just gentle rocks and back. You may not even be able to see me rocking. That's okay. I'm sure you can feel it rocking. And then we'll stay here. Probably not a whole minute. We'll probably stay here for about 30 seconds. And just stay in whatever expression of the posture works for your body. And just as slowly as we got into it, I have you untwist your wrists, maybe pausing here where all fingers are pointing to the sides of your mats, and then going ahead and walking it back to regular tabletop. Bring both knees together and tuck your toes. And now we're going to spend a moment here sitting up with our toes tucked. You can take the back of your hands, press them together, and just shake out your wrists. It's a little bit of movement while we hold our toes still. It's a nice way to distract us from our toes. We don't spend enough time in the day stretching our feet, and it's really important, especially as we age. Anyone who's had plantar fasciitis like I have knows that stretching our feet is an incredible important step of our day. All right, let's go ahead and come back to tabletop. Let's do one more. Bring those hips, the knees equal distance apart from your hips. So not together like we just did. And then you're going to walk your hands forward until you can drop your forehead onto the mat. A little bit of an open heart work here. Stay here for 2 minutes if you can. Drop your knees, your elbows to the floor. Go ahead and do that. Let's see if you can keep those arms engaged. I want to see how you can release your chest, release your upper back. More support, more closeness to the ground. See if you can release just a little bit more. And keep that core engaged to protect your lower back. Okay, begin to walk your hands closer so you can come back up into tabletop. And then from here, and bring your elbows to the floor. Come all the way down with your belly on the mat. Drop your right cheek to the floor and wrap both of your arms around so they are next to your body. So you're here flat on the floor. Your hands are next to your hips. The palms are facing upwards. Your right cheek is on the floor, and we'll stay here for a minute. This is a nice counter to the back bend we just did. Bring those elbows back onto the mat with your elbows below your shoulders. Hands in front of you, flat on the floor. And we're going to stay here in Sphinx pose for 2 minutes. I want you to use your hands to push your chest forward as you pull your hands towards you. Does that make sense? So your hands are on the mat and you're sliding them towards you as you push your chest out. And I want your gaze to be just past your fingertips. I don't want you to have too much of an arch in your neck. Just sort of keep that long neck as we stay here in Sphinx pose for 2 minutes. I want you to see if you can just release your belly towards the ground. Release your butt, release all that. Keep that arch in your back. But how can you bring your belly closer to the floor by just releasing it? You're not trying to move it toward, you're not moving it to the floor, you're just releasing. And then go ahead and release the whole posture. Bring your face down to the ground, your left cheek now on the mat. Bring both arms beside your body, hands sort of next to your hips with those palms facing upward. We'll stay here for a minute. See if you can just release those shoulders. They kind of droop towards the floor. Go ahead and push up to tabletop. We're going to do a pigeon pose. And so I want you to just bring your knee close to your left knee close to your left wrist. And then keep both of your hips even. Send that right leg back behind you. And you can stay, if you want, you can sort of sit on your left hip and sort of just hold this posture like this. You can stay elevated, but that would be kind of hard to do for several minutes. You can drop your elbows down to the floor. And this gives you a big hip opener, hip stretch here on that left side. You can also make a pillow with your hands and bring your head down to the floor. We're going to stay here for 2 minutes. And keep your left heel close to the body. Don't try to make it sort of perpendicular to your thigh. You want to keep it close in to protect your knee. And go ahead and roll over onto your left hip. Bring yourself back into tabletop, and we'll do the other side. So here from tabletop, just bring that right knee behind your right wrist, and then slowly lower your hips as you extend your left leg. You can stay upright, like I said. You can come onto your hip. You can come down, keep those hips even, right? So your left and your right hip are equal distance from the floor. And just drop your elbows to the ground and stay here. Or you can make a pillow with your hands and drop your forehead down to the mat. We'll stay here for another 2 minutes. And go ahead and roll onto your hip. Send both legs beyond us. We're now sitting up. Take a stretch, arms up overhead, legs extended beyond us, toes flexed, not so much that our heels come off the ground, but to keep those heels on the ground. And I like to fold forward with a flat back until I can't anymore, and then round it and drop your hands wherever your body wants them today, on the floor, on your shin, wrapped around your ankles, whatever works for you. We'll stay here for just a quick minute. And I want you to feel that stretch in your hamstrings, not behind your knee and not up by your butt, but right here in your hamstring. So see if you need to bend your knees a little bit to feel that stretch. You're going to use your hands to walk yourself back to a seated upright position. And now we're going to roll back onto our backs, where we're going to finish our practice today in corpse pose or shavasana. And this time I want you not just to lie here on your mat, but widen your legs so that they are, your heels are as wide as your mat, if that makes you feel comfortable. And then your arms just sort of gently laid out next to your body, maybe splayed out a little bit, palms facing upward. And I'm excited to teach another round of first Saturday mornings. We'll be here every first Saturday at 10 a.m. It's a class that I love to share with friends and family. It means a lot to me that I get to extend the practice of yoga, of gentle yoga, of yin yoga, to people who I care about, to friends and family. And I do it for free, but I ask you to make a donation to an organization that supports transgender and non-binary young people. And the reason I do that is that in my day job, I'm a consultant and I work with schools on a lot of transgender issues. And so I'm aware that I make money. I benefit financially from this work. And so I use my yoga practice in one way as a way to give back to a community that is in need of support. And so I chose Lambda Legal because they're fighting a good fight, fighting back on a lot of those anti-transgender bills and laws that are being passed across the country. They're filing lawsuits. They're going to the courts, to the district courts, the federal courts of appeals, and they'll probably be in the Supreme Court within the next year or two. So I will place their link in the chat when we're done. And I ask you to give as generously as you're able. And so we'll spend the last few moments together just reconnecting with our breath. We can practice that breathing, that meditation that we did earlier. Breathe in on 1, breathe out on 2, breathe in on 3, breathe out on 4, and keep breathing in and out, counting. And whenever you find that your mind has left your mat, bring it back to your breathing following your breathing, counting your breathing, and start back at 1. Go ahead and bring those knees into your chest. Roll over onto your side. Take a moment before you get up to express a bit of gratitude for yourself for prioritizing this time, hour that you've given yourself on this mat that you shared with the rest of us. Something you're grateful to yourself today. And then push yourself up to a seated position. Find a comfortable way to sit here. We'll just settle in for one additional moment. Hands down for grounding, palms up to receive. I'm grateful that we had this time together. So nice to start the new year with you. So nice to rededicate myself to this monthly practice with you this year. And bring your hands to the heart center and say thank you to yourself and to everyone you see on your screen for being here today. Thank you all.